and welcome to another Broke PhD Podcast video podcast episode. On the podcast today, I have a conversation with Lia Picard, who is a journalist, a freelance writer, and the host of the Bagel Bagel Podcast. During our conversation, Lia shares more about her background. We talk about our love of tennis, and she talks about why she started her podcast, the Bagel Bagel Podcast. I hope y'all enjoy watching this podcast episode. Hey y'all, and I'm so excited for my guest today. And on the podcast today, I get to talk with Lia Picard, who is a journalist, who is a writer, and who is the host of the Bagel Bagel Podcast. So Lia, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and Lia, I just want to ask you to share a little bit about your background so the listeners can get to know more about you.
Yes, I've been a freelance journalist for the past 8 years full time. I live in Atlanta and I cover mostly food and lifestyle. I always say the fun stuff in life, like food, lifestyle, travel, interior design. And then about a year ago, I fell in love with playing tennis. And this past fall, I started a podcast all about rec tennis. Nothing about the professionals or strategies, just all about the stories of people who also are obsessed with recreational tennis.
Oh,
So,
I love that so much. And yes, I'm gonna hype up her podcast, the Bagel Bagel Podcast. And I got to record an episode with Lia, so check that out. And again, I know you talked about that you wanted to focus on sharing the stories of rec tennis players. Can you talk about your own tennis story?
yes, absolutely. I had very limited exposure to tennis as a kid. I was not an athletic child, but I did enjoy my tennis lessons in middle school. And I kind of, would hit once I started dating my husband in college, we would kind of go on these courts and just kind of hit around, but never really anything serious. And then I didn't touch a racket for a long time. When we joined a country club a couple of years ago, my husband started playing, and it was really cool to hear about his tennis journey. And he's like, "You should try it." And I was like, "I don't know." But I joined a clinic for the summer for this one team. I wasn't all the way on the team, but I joined their weekly clinic, and I got to know them and started feeling more comfortable. Then I joined a league. I didn't win a single match that fall season, and that's okay. But then, it was just even with the losing, there were so many qualities that I just loved about tennis. I just really loved the puzzle aspect of trying to figure out where to stand and where to hit the ball to, as well as the athletic component. Running for a ball in short bursts is very doable for me.
Yes, I feel that.
Yes. And so yeah, I've only gotten more and more obsessed with it. Now I'm on a couple doubles leagues, I'm on a couple singles leagues, and it's just going up from there. And I'm in the middle of a losing streak, but we'll get out of it eventually.
Process. It's a process.
Yeah.
So I also want to ask, from playing tennis, what have been some of the things that you've learned? I know you said right now you're kind of on a losing streak, and that, can teach you so much about yourselves. So what are some things that you've been learning about yourself from playing tennis?
I mean, I am more competitive than I realized. I really do want to get the point, I get mad at myself when when things aren't going the right way. And I think that's that was the most surprising thing because I've never been put in a position to be competitive,
Mhm.
really. I guess freelancing is a little bit competitive with other writers.
Mm.
You feel that sometimes. But I'm, working alone. I'm not in an office. I'm not I don't see the person I'm vying against. Yeah. And I never really played games, I'm not I don't play a lot of board games or whatever. Although now I play Uno with my daughter, and again, a little
Ooh.
competitive.
Yeah, Uno could be one of those ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big reveal for me. And it's fun though. It's fun even when I lose, learning how to lose has been part of it
Mm.
also.
Mm.
Stepping back and saying, well, there's still so much to be proud of and you showed up, and that's a big thing too. So
I love that. And yeah, with tennis, I just to highlight, yeah, learning how to lose is definitely a big part of playing tennis
yeah.
that you don't recognize. Who was it? was it Federer who said you only need to win like 51% of the points to win a match, which means you're losing 49% of those points,
Right.
right? That's a
Yes.
lot of losing to occur and a lot to have to mentally go through. And if you are more competitive, like we both might be, it is hard to kind of work through that. So I love that you're learning how to lose through playing tennis.
Yes.
And you mentioned that you are a freelance writer and that that is also competitive. And I want to hype you up for a moment because yes, I did a little research and I was because I'm excited for this one. And you're nationally published, that you have articles and work that's been published in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, and I think more recently Vogue. So can you talk
Yes.
about that aspect of your life?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, just like tennis, everything for me is always very incremental. I've never been the kind of person to just come out of the gate like swinging and like no one handed me my New York Times byline like my
Mhm.
first time pitching. And that's the case for a lot of writers, of course. It's very rare for it to not be. Um, I I had studied education.
Mhm.
Actually, like journalism is not my academic background. I had studied education and then pivoted just through moving and different things. Ended up working in the nonprofit world for a little bit, and I had a food blog on the side. And as I developed that food blog, I was like, well, I want to try writing for different publications, and I started on a very local level. And then from there, I took a online pitching course, which kind of helped me craft, my emails to editors. Because for those who don't know how a freelance writer works, is like I have an idea. Let's say I think we want to talk about like the 10 best tacos in Atlanta, and I'll send that to an editor and tell her or him why that's a good idea, and they'll say yes or no, or they won't reply at all.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so, and then that's how that works. And so as I got, as I became a better writer on the local level, I was able to start developing stronger pitches for national publications. And over time, it just kept growing. And as you get more comfortable, you start thinking, yeah, I can pitch the New York Times. And oh, okay, I had landed one with the New York Times. Okay, I can do it again. And then you do. So, yeah.
Cool. And thank you for sharing that process because I personally didn't know like how that kind of weaves and what you kind of do to get there. And I love that you also come from education and how that kind of was the beginning, but then it kind of morphed into now journalism and freelance writing. And yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that you had to take the time to like email it out. And I guess that makes sense because obviously how they're going to find your stuff if you don't send it to them.
And sometimes they will. Like sometimes now that I'm like, so farther into it, I
Mhm.
will get an email from a publication who's like, we're looking for an Atlanta writer to talk
Mhm.
about, an itinerary, what to do in Atlanta for a few days. Like, and you have this background, you want to do it. And I'll
Mhm.
say yes.
Oh,
So
okay. I love that.
yeah.
So then as you became more established, you're able to have people kind
Mhm.
of reach out to you about it.
Yes.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah. So if
Yeah.
y'all are hearing this and you're interested, I am gonna have Leah's contact information and social media platforms and all those things in the description box. So feel free to reach out and also have her podcast information down there too. And I just like hype people up and there's all of that. So now I want to pivot back to your podcast. So with this, and I know you wanted to just share the life stories of people playing tennis, but kind of can you give kind of the background of that specifically and talk about the podcast a little bit more?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I wrote for Vogue. I did have something
Mhm.
published in Vogue. I had an essay about my love of tennis
Mhm.
published in Vogue later, like late summer.
Mhm.
And in doing that and talking about how I started playing tennis in my late 30s and everything you and I kind of talked about with like losing and all that, I got so many responses from people and so many people were sharing it. It was so cool. Or I met someone who was like, "Oh, like this like influencer shared your Vogue essay. I've heard your
Mhm.
name before." And so it
Aw.
really resonated with a lot of people.
Mhm.
And concurrently, I've been wanting a long-term project to sink my teeth into because freelancing is fun, but it is also a grind,
Mhm.
and this economic climate, it's really getting more challenging to get those yeses.
Mhm.
And I don't have a book idea. That's like, a lot of people think like, oh, what about a book? It's like, well, you need an idea for a book, and I don't have one. So my husband was like, you should start a podcast about tennis. Like there isn't really a podcast dealing with like the lifestyle aspect of tennis, and that's really your thing. And I'm like, oh, you know what? That's a good idea. And it feels very it felt very uncomfortable for me. And I felt like that's why it's good to do. Like, I think we
Mhm.
need, as a creative people, like, we need to like challenge ourselves and like
Yeah.
kind of lean into that scary side sometimes.
Yeah.
And I took the plunge, and I had a friend who was very kind and kind of gave me her blueprint for what had set her up on her podcast. And I kind of copied and pasted and looked at a lot of Reddit and went like kind of like the middle road of what you can do in podcast land. And it's been fun. Like it's been really a fun challenge indeed. And great getting to connect with people like you and all over the country has just been, it's my favorite part about journalism is like the interviews and talking and connecting, and it's been really cool. So
I love that. I love that. And yeah, with the podcast, you can talk with so many different people and also doing it on this online platform. Right now, if you see us on YouTube, we are on Zoom. And so, but when we did the recording with Leo, we were using Riverside. And so there's so many things that you can use to record your podcast. There's so many ways that you can connect with people in this virtual digital world. And yeah, I love that you're sharing that lifestyle side of tennis because there are so many podcasts out there that just talk about the game and strategies and talk about, okay, what if you do this or what if you do that? And there's like a few, I think, adult recreation specific podcasts that exist. A lot of them are focused on the pros, which makes sense, right? The pros
yeah.
are the interesting ones. But I love that you're building this to center around sharing those stories. So
Yeah.
yeah. Do you want to talk about any of the guests you've had outside of me on your podcast so far?
Yeah. So I had one of my first guest was Farron from Hot Mess Tennis, and she's great. I was really drawn to her because of her candor and just the way she's like just willing to just lay it all out. I think a lot of the tennis creators are really honest, but there's so many times where I'm on threads and it's like, okay, you're just sharing your wins. And I do love hearing about the messy process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's the real life of tennis, right? It's not all
Right.
about the wins all the time. Like there's a lot of times
Exactly.
that we're losing.
Right. And Roger Federer also said that we would
Yes.
lose more matches than win. So,
Hmm.
just like him, I
Yeah.
lose.
You're just like the pro.
And and she's just so funny. And she was like, yes, right off the bat, which was so exciting. I mean, that is like, I'm sure you felt this when you first started your podcast too. It's like, greeted with like just people ignoring your emails, like,
Mhm.
like I'm real, I promise. And like Karen never like questioned, like she didn't like, at all. And then I had Jane Foreman,
Mhm.
who is a really well-known tennis coach and known for her, like someone called it like aggressive coaching style.
Yeah, I would say like her transparency and just like her
Yeah.
bluntness. I like her
Yeah.
bluntness. Like
Right.
she's not
Thank
gonna
you.
like sugarcoat it. She's gonna tell you like it is, and I appreciate that. Like,
Right. Yes. And she's like, I'm not a country club coach. And it's
yeah.
true. Like my country club coach is like, that was perfect. I'm like, what are you
And you're
talking
like,
about? Like that was like out the back.
you're like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. So, that she was a great one too. And then actually like I'm really excited because it's not all just big fancy names. I also
Mhm.
have the upcoming season, which will start early February. I have this guy, Mikey. He's a college student at Marquette. He's a sports journalism major. He reached out to me and
Aw.
it was so cute, and he like was like telling me what he wanted to talk about, and we talked, and like it was great. Like I'm really excited to share that one because it's like again, it's a range of voices, and he's
Mhm.
in college and he plays tennis, and I love
I
hearing
love
that.
that.
So
Oh, that's so
yeah,
cool. And I love that he reached out to you too. Okay,
yes,
we'll
I was like,
see
I
you.
have to like reward that gumption. That's great.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
No, so outside of being a journalist, of being a writer, and of being a tennis player, adult recreational tennis player, what other things encompass who Leah Picard is? Like,
I am a mom. I
got
have a 6-year-old daughter. I have my husband also. He's here too. No,
he's there. He's there.
he's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we live in Atlanta, and it's like life. I was funny the other day. I was like, what did I do before tennis? Like with all the time I had. Tennis has really given me something to like anchor my days around, which is nice.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, I do a lot of my writing. I'm always out and about in Atlanta. Like I live in the burbs, but I do try to get into town as much as
mhm.
possible to go, just into the coffee shops or go to a cafe and just chat with people who work there. Or, I feel so good on a day where I've bounced around like 3 or 4 different places in Atlanta before I pick up my kid. It's very rare these days, but it's great to be out there. So that's kind of that's me, a food lover first and foremost. So
I love that. Aw. And speaking of food, I guess in Atlanta or I guess anywhere, what is one of your favorite like restaurant spots or even types of food that you like to enjoy?
I'm a bakery girl. Like I
Okay.
love bakeries. So in Atlanta, we have a few great ones.
Hmm.
My favorite one is Little Tart, and there's a few different locations, and they have seating, which is kind of funny to say, but a couple of my other favorite bakeries don't have seating, so it's hard for like you have to plan strategically how you do it. But Little Tart also has just like a really beautiful sunny cafe and there's plants hanging and it's just like such a good vibe. I would say those are kind of my favorite types of restaurants. I'm such a daytime person now that I love a beautiful lunch spot with like, beautiful tile and sunny dining room. But I'm also really drawn to like Southeastern Asian flavors. Like there's a Laotian restaurant down the street that's really great. Thai, those are
Yeah.
constantly in my rotation. And I'm really lucky where I live in my suburb, Dunwoody. We have a lot of great neighborhood spots. And
Mhm.
so, like, during the work week when I can't get out that much, it's not like I don't feel like I'm settling. I have a lot of great places that I want to support around me. A lot. I'm a big local restaurant person, so I do try to support locally owned as much as possible. So I have a lot of that.
That. And that's so important because there's so many chains out there and like not to knock the chains, but also like
I don't mind
y'all
knocking
aren't
chains.
struggling. Yeah, that like locals sometimes feel more of that weight, especially in today's economy, right? Like
Yeah.
people will, they can only spend their money on so many things. And so, yeah, if y'all can support local, we're throwing that out there. Support local wherever
Yes.
you can, wherever you are, because like that's so important.
Yeah. Well, because like chains to me too. I mean, they really have a way of making like a city feel sterile, And it's like a
Yes.
lot. When I was in Nashville in April, there were a lot of restaurants that are in Atlanta that are in Nashville, and I'm like, well, like,
Mhm.
why come here? Like, if
Yeah.
I'm only going to eat at the same places that are here, like, why would I travel for that?
Yeah.
So,
I feel the
yeah.
same way that traveling somewhere, like if you can get it back home, why would I want to go there? Like I want to see where
Mhm.
the like again, the local spots where people who are there that only exist in that one part of either the state, the city, whatever, that you can't get it anywhere else because that makes it more like special, it makes it more
Absolutely.
exciting and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So along those lines of traveling, because you do kind of your writing centers around lifestyle, food, travel, what has been your favorite travel place to go to?
Well, so I mean, most recently, the big trip that we just took was Paris,
Ooh.
and we took our daughter to Paris for her first trip to Europe. It
Oh.
was Thanksgiving, and it
Mhm.
was just like a dream. It all went so well. And it was interesting because I hadn't been to Paris since a decade ago when I was
Mhm.
younger, and he and I were like my husband and I were going to like bars and cool cocktail places, and so this was a very different
Different
type
scene,
of
yeah.
trip. Yeah. But it was still wonderful because it's Paris and it's all about what you make of it.
Yeah.
Um, and that was really cool. That was a great trip, and I'm really glad we had that. I mean, more locally though, like I love Asheville. I do try to
Okay.
get to Asheville once or twice a year if
Mhm.
possible. And again, they're very big on their independently owned restaurants, and they have
Yes.
a lot of them. And it's like, it's almost like overwhelming. You're like, where do I want to go? I only have 2 nights.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
so,
no,
yeah.
we love Asheville too. Ironically, we've been to Asheville more so for tennis trips, which is the connection of things.
Oh,
So on a mixed states team, my boyfriend was on when they had combination back in the southern region, when there was 7-0 combo for mixed, that his team would make it to states, and states for 2 years in a row was in Asheville, maybe
cool.
three. So yeah, for North Carolina. So that was nice. And yeah,
That's
Asheville is so
cool.
nice. And I know that they're kind of still rebuilding some areas after the hurricanes and everything that went through.
Yeah.
So if you want to visit Asheville, just make sure. I think now they're back up and running. So
It's
try to
pretty,
support, yeah, that they're
yeah.
good now. But try to get there, support them so that they can, keep rebuilding and stuff. So yeah.
Yes. I mean, we do a lot of Southern travel just simply because
Mhm.
I'm in the South and I write for Southern publications, and it's also a lot of places are drivable or it's not that
Mhm.
long of a flight. So that's great. And I'm from Florida, so
Mhm.
I also end up in Florida a couple times a year, specifically Boca Raton and the Palm Beaches, which is where I grew up. So yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. And yeah, that's what I love about, I guess, this region in itself is that you can drive to so many places because
Yeah.
you're in Atlanta, I'm in the like Raleigh, Durham area, and it's only 6 hours, like
I
six and a
know.
half, depending on
Yeah, it's not
traffic.
bad.
Like, yeah. And you go through obviously another state, South Carolina's in the way, but like, I know, we're like, but it's so cool. And yeah, like you said, you went to Nashville. Like, I can get to Nashville from here in 8 hours. I think you're closer than that.
Yes.
So, yeah. But it's nice that you can kind of drive to like the different areas in this region.
For
So
sure.
yeah, that's so cool. So as we are kind of wrapping up this conversation, are there any takeaways or some insights that you want the listeners to leave with?
If you are thinking about trying tennis, go for it. I've talked to some people who are like, oh, like I want to try it, but I'm scared. And it's like you just have to rip the Band-Aid. And like just give it to like the fun side. Like don't worry about the winning and the scary stuff of it, but like just focus on chasing that yellow ball and getting the endorphins flowing. And support your locally owned restaurants.
Yes, yes. So definitely go play tennis. We're gonna hype that up. And yeah, support local. I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the
Thanks
podcast.
for having me. I'm really honored. Thank you.
Well, that concludes this episode. But if you've liked this episode and want to hear more episodes, then please check out my podcast website, brokephdpodcast.com, and be sure you are following me at brokephdpodcast here on YouTube. Additionally, if you'd like to check out more video podcast episodes, then be sure you are subscribed to me here on my main channel at Dr. Keisha Green, and be sure to hit that notification bell as well. I thank you so much for being here. I'm wishing you all the best. Remember, you got this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, y'all.